A new product aiming to free up police from hours of writing reports, and it's centered around artificial intelligence. The Scottsdale-based company Axon says its AI program will use body camera video to write police reports before an officer even gets back to the station. The company says officers can spend as much as 40% of their time doing paperwork, and this would help cut down on those hours. However, there are concerns about mixing AI and law enforcement and trusting the technology. So let's take a legal deep dive into this. Joining me now is criminal defense attorney Hector Diaz of Diaz Law. Hector, as a criminal defense attorney, does this concern you?
Not really. Let me explain. There's still going to be body camera evidence.
Right.
Defense attorneys are still going to have a job to do in reviewing that evidence. So, this isn't going to be a substitute for the body camera, and lawyers are still going to have to review it.
Right.
If there's concern, it's probably concern that lies on the law enforcement prosecutor side.
Yes.
And so I think the issue there is going to be, how complete is this? How perfect is this? Is this I'll tell you, I'm reviewing body camera evidence almost every day, and I'm not just looking for words that were said. I'm looking for expressions or person's reaction to certain things. I'm looking at the lay of the kind of, perimeter, all sorts of things that factor in. And it's going to be interesting to see how this technology is used.
Well, as a defense attorney, I would think that you could probably poke holes into a lot of this, right, with the AI technology. But as a prosecutor, maybe that is where the deeper concern is.
To some extent, yes. And I think the concern is going to be how close do the two match up in terms of the physical evidence. And also, you're still going to have an officer who is there and is subject to a defense interview. That officer's still going to be, he can't just simply give the report and say, hey, this is the end of it, just read my report. No, he may still have to testify.
Yeah.
And if this doesn't match up with what he said on the stand, that's reasonable doubt.
Yeah, and technically Axon has said that, the police officer, they still have to review it after it's been written up by the AI. I'm wondering, with AI technology, it is moving fast. Faster than we could even imagine. And as more companies are using this technology, to whether it's cut back on resources or jobs or what have you, what do law enforcement need to be mindful of?
I think law enforcement and prosecutors have to be mindful that, this doesn't substitute, the work that they have to do to afford due process to a defendant or a suspect that's charged with a crime. And so I think, and I expect that cities that do use this technology are going to want to test it. And it's going to be a slow roll because this is different. This is now, we're talking about a person's rights. A person can be incarcerated on, a report like this, and they're going to want to make sure that they got it right.
Yeah, there's a lot of ramifications.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get to our next case here. The ongoing unrest at college campuses across the nation. Anti-war demonstrations already forcing some schools to modify graduation ceremonies. Overnight at USC, thousands gathered for a pro-Israel rally just outside the campus. This demonstration coming just days after the university shut down a pro-Palestinian encampment. USC is the first school to cancel its main commencement ceremony, citing security concerns. Right now, an investigation is also underway at UCLA into the violence that broke out after counter-protesters attacked a pro-Palestinian encampment last week. Police may use photo recognition technology similar to what was used after the January 6th attacks on the Capitol to identify the protesters. And of course, back here at home in Arizona, we've had protests over in at our local university here, ASU, as well as U of A. Get into the rights that protesters have or demonstrators versus the rights that the university has. Right.
In the case of, say, public schools like U of A and ASU, those students are expressing their right to free speech, right, to express whatever displeasure or support that they're giving, and to do so in a peaceful manner, right? Just because they're there and expressing their First Amendment right doesn't give them the right to commit criminal offenses. In this case, criminal damage or assault or any other assortment of offenses. And the universities have the right to make sure that they're providing a safe environment for the students and for the public that might be visiting the campus.
Yeah, and trespassing too.
Right? Absolutely, yes, absolutely. Because what can happen is that at some point you have security, you have law enforcement there on campus at the university, and they can make the decision that somebody is being disruptive. That now it's not a protest, this has become into, a threatful situation, and the university has to take action in order to protect, the public and the student body there.
Is there a distinction between campus police versus a city police, like Tempe, for instance?
That's a great question. ASU, we'll take ASU because it's our home school here. They have their own police force. Those are law enforcement officers. I know, as a defense attorney, I often, when I get a student that's accused of some kind of criminal offense that occurred there on campus,
Right.
they're making the assumption that, well, they're security guards there. No, they are actual law enforcement, sworn peace officers. And so there really isn't a distinction. They can investigate, they write police reports, they wear body camera.
Yeah, same thing.
Absolutely no different. And they can also charge people for criminal offenses as well.
All right, Hector, thank you so much. We'll, of course, get to 2 more cases with Hector in our next half hour. Lindsay, over